lifespan are we talking about? Because clearly that's not something you want to be changing every 5 years.
Yep.
Well, we're looking at 15 to 30 years for the initial time frame to operate.
The average is about 20 years, so but depending on the specific locations, you know, when we go offshore, there's some more salt winds, you know, which can damage the blades more. So that's really all part of the calculations that need to be done. I mean, the harder the wind blows, the better, but the more damage to the machines you get as well.
So there has to be regular maintenance.
Yeah, of course.
And the maintenance can extend the life. When you say 15 to 20 years, does that mean that you have to discard and throw away the blade and replace it with new blades? What happens?
No, we can continuously upgrade it.
Yeah, because the technology is evolving so fast. If we're talking about over 20 years' time, I mean, it might be worth even just replacing certain parts with the newer technology at that time. Because that's the reason at this moment why wind turbines are becoming interesting for Belize. Many years ago, or in Europe, a lot of these large-scale projects are subsidized by the governments.
Okay.
Because the technology wasn't optimized yet, and they had at that moment also very low power prices.
Okay.
But now we're getting at the curve or at the edge
They're
where, you know,
coming to meet
prices
each
are
other.
going up. Technology is getting more efficient,
and
that's why Belize is now probably ready to get into those kind of investments as well.
And you made a very good point there. I'm glad you brought it up. Effectively, sensing that this particular project is actually going to be private sector driven.
Yeah, completely, 100%.
It's not as though government will be funding this project.
Not at all, and we're very fortunate. We've been working on this project for quite some time, and we actually have all our funding already in place. The project
for phase 1 to
for phase 1 production, the feasibility study is going to be about $1 million.
And you already have the funding.
We have that, and then if we go into production, construction and production, first phase will be about 212 million Belize dollars, and we already have those $212 million in place, ready for...
You already have 212 million?
Yes, we do.
So why do we need to do feasibility study?
To make sure there's wind.
We need 212 million.
If there's no wind, if there's no grid, there's no wind.
Yeah, to see if it's really going to be... Yeah.
And if it can be offered at the competitive price that Belize wants, BL wants to buy it from.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's one important point too that Norika made. You know, we're in collaboration with BEL, PUC, some of the environmental groups we've met with Audubon. You know, it's a somebody today at the forum actually made a very good point. You need to have a dialogue with everybody, not just a dialogue with an investor or just a dialogue with an NGO. You need to have everybody incorporated, and that's one thing that Noriko has helped us with a lot. And we've got a whole team together here in Belize. I've been coming to Belize now for 20 years. Rick's been here a long time. We're involved in the real estate and hotel business in Placencia. So we've been here a long time, so we know a lot of people, and we're trying to get everybody involved in this project.
So we've had a great cooperation from everybody as well so far, so you know, I want to thank them as well for that.
So maybe now we can touch the benefits?
Yes, sir.
We already touched on the jobs.
There's a long list of benefits that we try to deliver. First of all, I think a lot of people in Belize know is that there has been problems with the supply. You know, the power outages are still happening from time to time. So having more control and a more sophisticated grid, you know, the extra investments that we want to do should be able to contribute to, you know, more guaranteed power supply. You know, that all the power at this moment, if it's imported, come all the way from the north, have to go to the south. So part of the study is also to look how we can facilitate and doing more central production to stabilize the supply. Another one is, of course, the prices. That's why BL and the government will look.
So interested,
yes, definitely. That's what they want to hear from us.
We need to get the price
in the coming months. You know, is the wind blowing hard enough, and you know, is the investment really allowing you to come up with a beneficial, you know, or a competitive rate for the government to buy?
And one reason the prices have been going up is that currently Belize does utilize hydropower a lot, but last year we had limited rain.
Yes.
So the hydro production was down drastically.
That is
so
correct.
normally, you might have heard this at the forum today, right now BL is using about 65% of renewable energy currently to produce power, to provide power to Belize. But when the hydro dams don't produce as much, we switch to about 35% of power comes from renewables.
Yes,
that means the rest of it has to be imported from Mexico, which is all basically diesel.
Yes,
and heavy oils. So then we end up having to pay a lot more for that fuel because the fuel from Mexico is a lot more expensive.
Yes, yes.
And Mexico is at this moment helping Belize out, but they're also having a problem, a shortage with power at
within
the moment.
Mexico.
Oh yes. They're trying to upgrade to gas right now, natural gas, because it's much more efficient.
Okay.
But they don't have the supply yet,
Yeah.
and they need to import some of it from the United States, but they don't have the pipelines yet.
Yes.
So it's a long process to get Mexico also more on renewables.
So the possibility exists that the price from Mexico can go up as well because they're running short.
They are running
yeah,
short.
That we have to be careful.
That's what
with.
happened in the last months.
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
that's
exactly what
absolutely
happens.
correct.
So I guess another benefit would be the long term that they are looking is to export.
Yeah, we can give a quiet long-term guarantee on the price because once the study is done and once we put it up, all the investments, the entire $200 million is invested all in 12 months' time. That's when you put it up, when you do the installation.
12 months.
In 12 months' time. And after that, that's when the power is produced constantly over a period of 20 years' time.
At
That's
no
what
additional
gives,
cost.
At no additional cost, what gives you a very, reliable, long-term rate guarantee.
Yeah. You said constantly produce over 20 years time, and clearly you don't have the fluctuations and the vicissitudes that are associated with, say, dam,
Yeah.
hydro. But what would happen in the event of, say, something like a hurricane?
The technologies, they're, as I mentioned, there are different kind of wind turbines, and they have been set up in the middle of the ocean where you also have heavy storms and weather. They have been set up in the mountains where they work through freezing cold temperature and snow conditions where they need to do de-icing and everything. They have been set up in the desert at extreme heats. So yes, these technologies allow also wind turbines to be set up in a hurricane. You can perfectly turn them and turn the blades into the directions that we want to have the lowest impact from any severe weather.
And the more wind, the better, right?
I'm not sure we're looking for
We won't have a blackout during the hurricane.
We won't have a blackout during hurricane. That's a good point. That's a good point.
No. And so further benefits, as we mentioned, education and employment at a very specific niche market.
Excellent.
On the long term. And of course, I think if you look at the amount of power and the amount of budgets that this generates is also the significant tax income for the government. At this moment, all the money that goes out of the country by buying the power from and outdoors
from Mexico.
from
stays here.
So
and now all this money will stay into the country.
So
all
you
the taxes will come back.
Correct, because there'll be corporate tax. But in addition, we will actually be saving on foreign exchange.
Definitely.
Because today we have to pay Mexico in US dollars.
Yes.
But we will have the Belize dollars right here. We don't have to find US, so we save on foreign exchange.
That's
so that is also a benefit.
I think last year the BEL spent $133 million on power, on buying power. If a third of that comes from Mexico or neighboring countries, that's $45 million that's going out. Where if we kept the money here, either wind, hydro, biomass, or solar, the money stays here. It can be reinvested in education, in schools, in infrastructure, in other businesses. So,
and we'd have 45 million more US dollars to pay our super bond.
We'll get into those details.
That's a whole other discussion.
A whole other discussion.
Separate show.
We'll be back for that one.
How long do you think the feasibility study will last?
the feasibility study goes in phases as well, and it also depends on the results at the intermediate steps. We plan to have the final results in about 12 months.
Okay.
That's the average what a feasibility study takes for any wind farm anywhere in the world.
Yes.
And the thing there that takes the most time is measuring the wind to
All
really
right.
see at that moment, at that place, if the wind is good enough.
Good.
And the data, in some countries there's enough data available, but in Belize there's definitely not enough quality data available. I mean, meteorology has been very, very supportive in it and delivering data, but measuring the data at 5 feet from the ground is not exactly the same
Yeah.
as 200 feet,
Correct.
300 feet
Correct.
up in the air, and that's the information that we need.
Excellent.
So we're gonna have to set up several wind towers during the course of the coming months. They will all be installed
Different sites to collect
at different
data.
sites that we're investigating right now.
Good.
And that wind data that's what's taking the longest in the whole feasibility. In the meantime, we're working with BEL, looking at the grid studies, and we're doing all the other investigations that need to be done. But measuring is the longest.
Good. We'll take our final break, and when we come back, we are going to wrap up and give our final thoughts. All right?
All right.
So we'll take a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This UDP administration believes in a government that works with the people, because together as one, we can achieve great things. As long as we are joined in common purpose, our journey moves forward and our future is hopeful. One people, one government, one Belize.
Travelers, liquors always there. Have some fun, please your taste buds with a gold award-winning one-barrel rum. Try and liqueur, you decide, or the refined cashew wine. Travelers, liquors always there. Travelers, liquors always there. Yeah.
The Department of Transport hereby advises the commuting public, bus operators, drivers, and conductors that it is unlawful for buses to be operated with more passengers than the seating capacity and license allows. The public is also advised that the road service permit requires bus owners to provide a backup bus if there are more persons waiting at the terminal or at designated bus stops.
The Department of Transport will soon embark on a campaign to vigorously enforce the no-standing law, and persons who get on a bus that already has its lawful capacity of passengers will be taken off at checkpoints. Bus operators, drivers, and conductors will be dealt with according to the law. Persons who travel as standees are also breaking the law and are liable as well.
The Department of Transport enforcement personnel cannot break the law themselves by allowing an overcrowded bus to continue on its way. The cooperation of the commuting public is hereby requested in order to avoid expense and inconvenience. Let's all obey the law and bring good order into the bus transit system. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Transport.
Staying with us. Those of you who just joining, you're watching The Real Deal. Unfortunately, time flies when you're having fun, and we're just at the end of our time, quite honestly, just a couple minutes to go. And so maybe we can take the opportunity to try to wrap up now. First, let me say thanks to all of you for being on the show. I really enjoyed the time, and it really went well. But maybe I can just ask as we move forward and as we discuss. We're hearing all of this talk, Frick, of all that's happening, all will happen, etc. What is the next step?
Okay. So over the last weeks, we have been doing all the theoretical analysis.
Yeah.
So that means that the whole team is investigating the areas, the grid, but all on paper. You know.
Yeah.
In this and a few weeks, there's an entire team of engineers and researchers from Europe flying in and gonna do a whole roadshow in Belize by visiting the specific locations, visiting BEL, and then the engineers can do the talking with the engineers and really
they understand their language.
And then have the face-to-face discussions and a lot more in detail. So these teams will be arriving here in this and a few weeks.
From where?
From Belgium and Europe.
Okay.
That's where we have our expertise from, and that's where I'm originally from.
Okay.
And that's where we also have most of the financing from.
Okay. At one point I thought, is there a relationship with Germany? I thought maybe.
I'm originally from Germany.
You're
originally.
Okay.
And the wind turbine producer is
Are
from
in
Germany.
Germany?
Yeah.
Also in
Okay.
Germany.
But our strategic partners are in
Belgium.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Excellent.
And so after that is going to be decided where we're going to put up the measurement towers. These are very expensive, so we have to really carefully select. It's very important. If one more or one less is make a big difference in the budget. And so that's where we're going to be in this and a few weeks.
Excellent.
And then we're going to do all the paperwork studies will continue. We're going to do intermediate analysis of the wind data, and then we'll be back in a year to report.